There we go. Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Ruby, and I'm the director of the CFJ Coaching Success School here in Los Angeles, California. The CFJ Coaching Success School is the only one of 2 schools in the country that teaches coaches the art of client acquisition through service. And Steve Chandler, who is on this call, has the other school. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to Carolyn Freyer-Jones, founder and lead faculty of the CFJ Coaching Success School, and the other 4 faculty members at the school: Steve Chandler, Stephen McGee, Devin Bandenson, and Amber Kryzs. And on today's call, they will be sharing with you their personal experience around what I wish someone would have told me when I first started out in my coaching practice. We hope their words of wisdom will support you no matter where you are in your own coaching practice. So let's get this call started. Here you go, Carolyn.
Thank you, Amy Ruby. And you know, I love that question, what I wish someone would have told me at the start. If someone had told me I'd be on a call with all of you, I don't know. That might have really given me pause about this profession. I just need to say that out loud. And I'm super excited to be here with just my most favorite people on the planet, and people who I know are making a significant contribution to the profession of coaching. And, you know, I think we need to give nods and kudos to the official godfather of coaching, Mr. Steve Chandler, who, as Amy said, not only is he a guest faculty member at my school, he has his own school that is a place where so many coaches go to learn enrollment through heart-centered service. And I'm thrilled that the CFJ Coaching Success School is nudging in on that territory, bit by bit. Slowly but surely, Steve, we are nudging in. And I know you're so okay with it.
I can feel it. I can feel it behind me. I try not to look over my shoulder.
Yep. Bump, 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 bump.
You guys, yeah. It's like a horror movie. It's like the pounding of the heart that you hear as the monster draws near.
Yes.
But I actually want to tip my hat to how well you've done with the school. The people I know who attended gave me feedback. We're just so thrilled, and you're so thorough, and your school really touches all the bases. I just really feel great about how well you've done, and this next school is going to be even better.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Steve. And I know, like from you, that's no joke when you say that stuff. So thank you. So let's start the question, right? Like, it's such a great question of what you wish someone had told you at the beginning. And I thought what we could do is we will go from, let's do this. Let's go from the most fit coach to the least fit coach. How about we do that?
All right, I'll be back in a while.
I'm so happy that we get to start with Amber. That's all I know. I'm excited that we get to hear from her first. That's cool.
Are you sure it's not you, Stephen?
I think it's you, Stephen McGee. I want to say Stephen McGee, who really, first let me say something about him before he starts to talk about this. And Stephen really became my colleague and friend as a result of something that was happening in my own life when Michelle Bauman, my business partner and best friend, was in her second bout of a cancer diagnosis. And we were about getting ready to teach the next round of the University of Santa Monica Soul-Centered Professional Coaching Program. And Michelle got her second diagnosis and said, I can't teach. And I remember the call I made to Steve Chandler, and I said, and he knew already that Michelle wasn't going to teach. And I said to him, who else can do this that has both the USM background and the training that really you've given? And he said, and I knew what the name was going to be. He said, the only one I know is Stephen McGee. And that is how Stephen McGee entered my life. And he has become a great friend. And he is a coach who has made a huge difference in the world of professional coaching, both in teaching coaches how to enroll through service, and also just as taking a stand for greater leadership in our lives and greater leadership in the world. And having him come for his day of teaching at CFJ Coaching Success School is always fun and a blast, and the students loved him. I can't wait to have him back this year. And Stephen, I want to hear, like, tell us about what you wished someone had told you besides the fact that you'd get to be with all of us.
Well, I have no idea. I just finished a weekend with Byron Katie up in Aspen, Colorado. And so, Carolyn, I have no idea what's real anymore. I have no idea if my name is actually Stephen anymore. It could
Wow.
be Kumbaya. It could be Kumbaya. I just don't know. But I honestly, I feel like the first thing that I really wish that someone would have sat down with me and really got present with me. And when I started coaching, there wasn't any of this, really. I mean, maybe I could have found it if I looked harder, but that they would have said, you know, if you take yourself seriously in this business, it's probably not going to work. Because I have found that professional coaching is so much fun. To discover the insights of it, to just look into the brain and the heart of another human being. Let's be honest, it's comedic. It's hysterical. Not just the brains and the hearts of other people, but my own. And I think that I was too serious when I started. I think the worst thing a new coach can do, or even a coach that's been in the business for a long time can do, is get super serious about who we are, the information we have, like somehow we're some kind of guru that's going to sit with someone and change someone's life because we're so smart and we're so intelligent and we're so heartfelt. I wish someone would have said to me, be light about it, be fleet of feet, don't take it so seriously, ask more questions and listen better, and don't try to impress anyone. Because the moment I move into trying to impress another human being, or even if I try to impress myself, I'm kind of a mess, because it's all just kind of fun, and it doesn't have to be so serious. Even when a person comes to me with what they perceive as a super serious problem, like if I'm holding it seriously with them, then we don't really have a chance to get out of all that. And then I might spiral into getting stuck, and then I'm going to try to pull us out of the hole that we got ourselves into. And so, Carolyn, the first thing is I would say, don't try to impress. I wish someone had said, don't try to impress anyone, and take this whole thing more lightly.
I love that. And I want to say one thing you said I thought was really important, that when you try to impress people or you take it too seriously, you're a mess. And I would concur. Not that you're a mess generally, Stephen, and that when we all do that, right, we just become a big mess. It's like, it's so not helpful. So I have a new category, and I think Steve Chandler is going to like this. So now let's hear from the coach who's the most mentally fit. And I think that's Steve, and I'll share why. You may be like, well, wait a second. Steve, to me, I mean, besides Steve, you've been my coach for many, many years. It's like you, to me, have modeled for all of us really attuning to the way someone's mind is and the words they use in a way that I think, hands down, you catch things that I think are so fantastic for people, particularly coaches, and for everyone. And I definitely want to hear from you what you wish someone had told you, because I don't know. I can't imagine what you would have wished. I really can't. Like, I want to know.
Well, first of all, Carolyn, I would like you to tell me what your new category is.
I said the most mentally fit coach.
Oh, I see what you said. Okay.
You're way more mentally fit than Stephen McGee.
Yeah, and I'm hurt now. My feelings are hurt, and I'm collapsing inside myself, and I think I have to exit the call now, basically.
You can always take that to your coach.
I could. Okay. I'll call Steve Chandler after this.
And you know what you can do, Stephen? Quietly, while Steve Chandler is sharing, you can gently just be with yourself.
Okay.
Take care of yourself.
I don't know, Carolyn. You're way too serious for me.
So, I gave this a lot of thought after you came up with the topic, because really a lot of the coaches coming in to your school and mine are fairly new. They're not many years advanced, although some of them are. Some of them have been around a long time and still use a school like yours like a health club. It's like every time that you've got people coming in again, right?
Yep.
For the second time. So it's not as if it's information that you get and you've learned it like you learn a language. You go out and speak it and you don't have to go back to school anymore. What really happens is transformation. And so I think that what I wish people had told me at the start was that my ability to really listen to a prospective client and really enter their world and put on their reality glasses and see and try to find if I could see the world from their viewpoint. So when you talk to someone who might become a client, they have a way of seeing the world and a set of beliefs that will be revealed as they speak. And these reality glasses that you can get, these aren't reality glasses. These are my Elvis glasses that I used to wear when I tried to impress people. And, I'd sing a few songs. I'd do a few fingertip push-ups. I'd try to look impressive. I tried to be a combination of Elvis and Bruce Lee and all the people who I thought people would hire as a coach. Like Stephen was saying, what I wish I had known earlier was my ability to relax and listen and be more of a detective and less of a teacher would actually increase the likelihood that someone would want to talk to me a second and third time. And like you teach in your school, we acquire clients through conversation, not through promotion and being impressive. We acquire clients through conversation and through understanding the other person. So when I started, I wasn't married. I wasn't with Kathy. So I hadn't seen any Hallmark movies. And since I've married Kathy, I have not been able to avoid seeing a fair amount of Hallmark films. And I noticed many times at the end of a Hallmark movie, the young girl or young woman we're following that we hope finds the right mate so they can be happy, when they explain why they chose this country bumpkin who owns an ice cream store instead of this flashy advertising guy who's super handsome, they say something like, "He gets me." Mm-hmm. And it really hit me. That's why clients hire us more often than not. It's not because I hired you because you're such a super coach. In fact, a lot of times I used to get emails when like Stephen said, when I tried to impress people, I'd get emails that say, "I can see why you're a good coach. I can see why people hire you. I can see why you've trained all these corporate companies, and I'm going to have to wait. I'm going to have to wait a while, or I'm going to have to talk to my accountant. I'll get back to you later." People were not hiring me. And if I had been told the power of listening and the power, and I not only just told, I probably was told, but I never really got it. But if I had gotten it, there would have been a couple of really long, hard years that would have been eliminated in my journey. So that was, if I had to pick one thing, that would be the one thing.
Yeah. I mean, Steve, what I appreciate about what you're saying is this idea that the quality of our listening and our ability to really get into someone's world is really the greatest thing we can do. Like nothing else really matters. And that's why, you know, I talk a lot about this, as do you, as does Devin and Stephen and Amber, this idea that like, we don't need to be flashy or special, or like, we don't need to be slick, and we don't need to have fancy things to serve people really well. I remember there was a young guy that I was coaching who was a coach, and I remember you and I talked about him, and you said to me, you know, if he can be a really good listener and know how to ask good questions, he can be a great coach.
That's really true.
Yep. I so appreciate that. And that we don't need to be the ultimate of anything.
Well,
Carolyn, may I add something to this
Please.
listening piece? So I really do feel like listening is the greatest attribute to great coaching.
Mm.
But even more than listening, the way we define listening, to me, there's a space that gets created when I'm sitting with someone that's unique to me and that other person. And if I'm in my ego and I'm not willing to discover, there is no shot at that space being created. And what people feel when I'm really present is their own presence. And then the combination of their presence with my presence creates a space of creation where possibility occurs. And I think, to Steve Chandler's point and to your point, and what we teach, what you guys teach, what you teach at the school, that's when a person sees who they really are. And when they see who they really are, they're willing to stand in that and step into that in a way that otherwise isn't, in my view, after 20 years of coaching, isn't possible.
Yep. I agree. And I love that you talked about, like, we really are. It's like what Michelle would say, you're a market of one. What can happen when you're with someone, or when Devin was with someone, or Amber, it can't happen the same way with someone else, right? It's a combination of who you are and who they are and what you create together.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Right.
Well, I mean, Devin, I don't know what category to put you in.
Well, if I'm not the most fit physically and not the most fit mentally, there's not really much I could go for. So,
you're the fellow New Yorker.
That's it. That's all I could get. But I appreciate, like what Steve and Steven said. For me, it's along those lines of really the power of curiosity and showing up empty. And I think that sometimes in the beginning, it's like you get all this information and you think you're serving someone, you want to serve. And to Steve's point, you can end up teaching rather than continuing to get in someone's world. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's like the power of really getting curious and showing up empty. And really seeing in that space that Stephen talked about what the possibilities are. And the other thing to me was like, I thought of it as, I had a spreadsheet that, like, if I had this many clients at this rate and this many speaking engagements, and I remember going to Steve and saying, I figured it out, Steve, like, if I just had this many clients and this many speaking engagements, I can make this amount of money. And Steve, I thought it was brilliant. He came back and said, well, you don't need this many clients and this many speaking engagements. He said, you need one. And I said, that's why I hired you. You're going to show me how to get one client to make all that money? And he said, no, I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to show you how to get one client with all that money. He said, you just really need to get the next one. It's really being present in the next conversation that you're having. And for me, what I realized over time was this thing only happens one relationship at a time, one act of service at a time. And in the beginning, you know, I didn't realize the difference between doing service, right? You heard this level of like, let's, you know, do service and being of service. And for me, being of service is a big distinction from doing service. Like doing service is like, it's an action, like you're just doing it. Being is like embodying all that you've learned, embodying all that you're being. It's not like a light switch that I can be of service outside of work or not outside of work and then show up differently with my clients. So for me, knowing that I'm never going to get this thing and then it's all about a practice, for me was really, really key to growing as a coach.
Beautiful. Is there anything else you wished someone had told you?
I wish someone would have told me I would have been on a phone call like this with these amazing coaches. And, you know, I think that the other thing is like people are sometimes getting into coaching relationships or conversations as a means to an end. And people pick up on that, right? Like to me, there's service is like really being engaged and in someone's world and being of service and not doing what I call a loaded give, right? Like I'm going to be of service, I'm going to give, and then I'm going to come collect later on, right? I think that early on, coaches have to move from that distinction and say, if I have enough conversations where I am really getting better as a coach and getting in people's world, then all the other stuff is going to really take care of itself, you know? So I think that that's really important. I know you do a good job in your school of calling people out and saying, you know, show me your calendar. And I know Steve's a big believer of, you know, the more conversations you have on your calendar, and not to look at it like I need 10 conversations. It's truly looking at it as one conversation at a time. And yet the more you have on your calendar, the better you'll be as a coach, the more powerful you'll be to be able to serve somebody, and then your practice will grow. And I also will say, like, don't be impressive, right? Like that's something that really Steve, you know, he shares so much about.
He does such a good job modeling not being impressive, don't you think?
Yeah. And it's true. Like I found like my most powerful conversations was when I shared when I fell short. Like they saw this guy was a human guy. Like, you know, right. I struggled in this relationship or this divorce and then they'll say, you know, if it could happen for a guy like Devin, just maybe it can happen for me. Not that Devin's here, but you know, they see the humanity in it.
Yeah, no, I think that's so key. I think even though I'm teasing Steve Chandler, Steve, I think you really do model like being just a regular person and without all the, you know, the things that we see in the profession that can get a little slick or tricky. Like we forget, like the profession really isn't even about us. This is not a profession about us. It's about people. So, and Amber, you came from a profession about perfection and performance. So I want to know, like having come from Broadway, she's our only coach, by the way, on faculty that comes from Broadway. There's, even though like Steve Chandler, songwriter, musician extraordinaire, Amber's got the Broadway handle down. So tell us.
Tell you what I wished that someone would have told me. Well, I love that you brought up perfection because I think I thought it should be easier. And I think I wish someone would have said mistakes are the way. And the more you let yourself have those and live those and enjoy those in a way, it's not the faster you're successful will come, but it's like just the easier the whole process will be. Because I spent a lot of time avoiding mistakes. Like I fought so hard to do it right because I thought if I just do it right, then that's the other thing, right? Trying to get to the result. Like I'll arrive and one day I'll be a successful coach, right? I had this whole idea, right? And there was so much wrapped up in this idea of how much money I had in my bank account and, you know, what that would bring me. And I, you know, to me, I really wish that someone would have been like, it's not going to be easy.
And it's probably going to challenge you in ways that you didn't expect. And it's going to force you to face some places inside that you're not comfortable seeing. And it's also going to be really rewarding. And yeah, so mistakes are the way.
Yeah, I love that. I think I've been sitting here listening to everybody, and I was thinking, like, I remember when we first put this question on the script at the USM coaching program, Steve Chandler, where you and I and Michelle, in the last weekend of the program, we said, wouldn't it be like, and I think you said, I think it'd be great to really share with them what we wished someone had told us. And I do love that, because it does change, right? And although mine in some ways is the same answer, it's like, I wish someone had told me how amazing it was going to be. Like, that even when it was hard, that it was going to be amazing, and that it was going to be the most fun I could have while earning money. And I say that with all the quote unquote trials and tribulations of learning how to be an effective coach and learning how to enroll from my heart, and really throwing caution to the wind in my willingness to serve, and just being like, that's all I need to do is serve and serve and serve again. But I really do wish someone had said to me, and in a way, Steve Chandler, you modeled it more than you even said it. Like, to me, how much fun we can have. It's like that question Michelle used to ask. It's like, how good can you stand it? And I really think this is a profession where we really get to find out, how good can we stand it? If we're really willing to keep showing up and put our heads down and do the work, it's only a question of how good can you stand it. And I don't mean like because of the millions of dollars in our bank accounts, right? And that doesn't mean I'm not an advocate for thriving and being lucrative. What I mean is, how much joy there is in making a difference in people's lives and having a profession where you can be wildly creative over and over again. So, kind of a secondary question I have for all of you that I think is important is there anything you wish you knew right now that someone could come and tell you right now about the profession?
Can I just add to what you just said really quick? I mean, because I think that's such a good point of, like I always said, like, this is the best profession in the world, because basically I'm getting paid to learn more about me, right? Like, how fun is that I'm actually so fun that Carolyn has disappeared from the screen.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, she's putting her best face forward.
Man, that's all about the power.
There she is.
It's hard to hold a smile, and be authentic with it.
Yeah.
But if you have a picture of yourself smiling,
Right.
you can use that on all your Zoom coaching.
That was great. But I mean, it's so true that how fun this is to really, you're getting paid to really learn and learn about yourself, but also be of service to others. And, I just, that was hilarious, actually. Good to have you back, Carolyn.
I apologize for that momentary lapse of video viewing. I know how meaningful it is for you to be able to gaze at me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know. I apologize. But there was this knock at the door. So I didn't want to have everyone, while we're doing this important recording, see what I was doing. So here I am. And I want to know, like, maybe Stephen, let's just start with you again. Like, what do you wish someone would tell you right now?
Well, just what just happened. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, right? Like, life is a mystery. We think it's going to go a certain way. I think it's going to go a certain way, and it goes the way it goes. So how willing am I to be flexible and resilient to life, especially for those of us that are listening that want a long-term coaching practice? So the question about what would you wish someone told you when you began, great question. And for those of us that, are interested in a longer term professional practice, life lifes us. things happen in life that we don't see coming. And this resiliency is very important, because I want to be able to show up for my clients regardless of what's going on in life. Carolyn, you went away again. Was it something I said? Did I?
Someone's knocking at the door again.
You know what? I will train you offline. Listen, we won't do it on this call, to not be so distracted.
Yeah, there we go.
By such a simple thing as someone leaving the call for a moment.
Right. That's on you.
Yeah, exactly. That's you guys. You want to be able to hold your focus for more than 2 or 3
for
seconds.
more than 2 or 3 seconds. Yeah. That's right.
And I can help you with that. Here's what I wish someone would tell me right now. I'm sorry, you didn't ask me.
No, I want to hear from everybody.
Okay, so thanks. I wish someone would tell me why there is a feeling in the coaching community that this profession requires amazing amounts of courage, deep, thorough psychological cleansing, a total. I'm not distracted. I don't even hear. See, I don't even hear that bark. It doesn't interrupt me.
Doesn't faze you.
I'm not for this.
Wayne's World.
It might not be a bark. It could be your significant other in the other room. I don't know who that is, but I wish someone would tell me why everyone thinks it takes so much courage and that they need to have a rally.
Oh.
With 300 coaches standing on their chairs, talking about when they poisoned their sister's hamster in a fit of rage when they were younger. It is, and then bringing in elephants and ringmasters and everyone singing "Dream the Impossible Dream," whereas no other profession has that. If you were to say, someone were to say, I'm going to become an accountant or a lawyer, no one would say, well, I hope you have the courage to live your dream and dream an impossible dream and have the courage. And there's this kind of rumor going around that to be a coach, you have to have astounding amounts of courage. And the great coaches end up realizing it's a job like any other. And it can be relaxed, and I can show up for work and do a really good job and make very good money like any other profession. So that's what I wish someone would tell me is why has the Tony Robbins type thing leaked into coaching? So like sometimes I'll go on a coaching site and they show pictures of quadriplegics climbing Mount Everest and things like that, little videos of people overcoming amazing odds. Like, this is what we have to do. This is what we have to do to be coaches. And no, settle down, learn what it takes. You can do it. There isn't anyone who can't do this if they stay on the path. It's not like that. So I think a lot of people enter this field terrified and worried that they don't have what it takes. And one of the things that a school like yours does is it settles people down and it allows them to find the peace inside that they need to learn what it takes to have this profession work. Same way people go to medical school or law school or any kind of apprenticeship, they learn a profession. So in the past, if you were going to be an apprentice to a cobbler and you were going to work at the side, because most coaches have coaches, that's how they learn. And you're going to work next to a cobbler inside, learn his craft, and then go out and open up your own shoe store or whatever. No one said, I hope you have the courage to do this.
Right.
I hope you're willing to dream the impossible dream. And we're going to bring in we're going to bring in animals for you to sit with, lions and tigers and wolves. And we're going to do all this stuff that has you overcome these deep fears that you have to overcome in order to become a successful coach. And I think that's just the wrong direction. So that's what I want to know.
Amen.
That's what I hope someone will, maybe one of you will tell me.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, for me, down that same road of courage, I also think the other thing that's overused is passion, right? Like,
Oh, man.
somehow, right, we have to wake up and be passionate. And some days it just doesn't feel like that, right? Like Amber said, sometimes it's not easy. But what for me, it's like, end it simple, right? There's a simplicity to this. It's not easy all the time, yet it's simple. So whenever I'm like off my game or, you know, maybe in the stands rather than on the court playing, the simplicity of being able to get back to the basics is really, really important, you know, for me, right? Like the story of, you know, we've heard of Jerry Seinfeld, right? And they said, what'd you do to be a billionaire, trillionaire, a billionaire? And he said, for 20 years, I just locked my door and wrote comedy. That's it. He locked his door, and the simplicity of the profession. He didn't worry about having passion. He just committed to waking up, showing up to work every day, and the other things took care of itself. So for me, it's like with courage or passion, those things can come and go. It's not necessary. It's, can you get back to the simplicity of this work of showing up, doing good work? The only thing that's required of you is to really be present and have a powerful coaching conversation. I'm not responsible for the outcomes of clients either, like, because sometimes transformation are these big life-changing events, and sometimes they're quiet whispers that happen in the shower. And for me, it's like, can I just show up and simply do my job and simply really do a good job and continue to learn about the profession? And for me personally, how I learned to become a good coach is the same way I became a good basketball player, right? I watched and studied and immersed myself with great coaches, Steve Chandler, Steve McGee, Amber, Carolyn, and watch what they do. And then what you do is you start learning. And at first, you know, people tell you don't be a copycat. I say it depends on the cat you're copying, right? Because if I want what you have, I'm going to start doing with you what you do. And then eventually I started mimicking great basketball players. I got my own game. I got my own voice. And I think it's the same in coaching, that sometimes we're so worried about being influenced by others, but that's how you immerse yourself and find your own voice. That's how I did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Amber, what do you wish someone would tell you right now?
And it gets better and better all the time. And that the more, like, the no plan is the way. Like I've really settled into a place inside where, you know, I remember talking to someone once about a book I was thinking about, and he was like, don't you want it to be a New York Times bestseller? And I was like, no. I mean, it's not, I'm not saying no that I would, but that's not the intention behind it. It's not. So to me, it's really around, where do I feel joy? Where do I feel inspiration? What am I learning in my own life that will inform the next steps in my work? Like, it's always new and it's always fun because it unfolds as I unfold.
What I wish someone would tell me right now, and I so appreciate the passion and the whole, like, who do we, like, this idea that we need to generate enormous sums of courage. I wish someone would tell me right now that this is a profession that, like all other professions, which you mentioned, Steve, is a job. It's a job. And the reason that you all are part of this school is because I know how much you each show up for work. Like, it's so important that people know this is not a job where not only do we not have to generate great, enormous courage, we also, like, we just had a coach who talked to us about, like, she's not feeling excited. And my response was sort of like, so what? I'm not excited every single moment of every day. And that doesn't mean that I don't show up for my clients and I don't serve beautifully. Like, I don't require that of myself. Kind of like what you say, Steve. The person who works at the DMV is not requiring that they be enormously excited when they open up their window to serve people. They're just not. I just did jury duty last week.
Oh.
And I have to say, though, the person running the jury duty room, she came in and she said, good morning. And everyone kind of went, good morning. And she said, that sounded sad. Let's hear it again. And everyone said, good morning. And I thought about it. I was there all day. And I went up and signed out to take a break. And they were so lovely, the people behind the desk, right? They were like, here's the break sheet. And great, no, you can come back in 15 minutes. And when they told us it was lunchtime, and then at 3 o'clock, they came in the room and they said, we just got news. No one else is required today. And I sort of was like, woo. And then the woman goes, everyone can yell. Go ahead. And I was like, woo. And what I loved is they're going to do that again tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And they're going to be lovely to the people who come down there to serve. And they're not requiring anything of themselves other than just showing up.
Yeah.
And I think this is a profession where it's like, let's drop this idea that, like, besides enormous, like, huge amounts of courage, that we have to have huge amounts of excitement and enthusiasm. Like, feelings are a requirement. Big feelings are a requirement to do your job well and to enroll people. Like, to grow my business, I must be wildly excited every day. Otherwise, I can't put someone on my calendar.
Yeah.
I just absolutely can't.
That's that if somebody had said to me, I'm not feeling excited, I would say, what are you, 3 years old? You need to be excited. It's like, are you a spoiled child? There's an element of growing up that occurs in coaching. That's a very beautiful thing. And I've never had a passion for anything. And yet there are courses on find your passion, live your passion. I've never had a passion for anything. I wouldn't want one. I have a passion for Kathy. That's about it. Other than that, everything else is just fun, amusing, engaging. I love things, but find your passion and live it. That's a charlatan's program. That is raising expectations for life that lead people in the wrong direction. And so I agree with you on that, Carolyn. You don't need to find your passion. This doesn't need to be your perfect calling. Doesn't have to be your North Star beckoning you into the world of coaching. I never had a desire to get into coaching. I never wanted to be a coach. I accidentally fell into it because due to a certain situation, I was in so much debt. One of my corporate clients said, will you stay an extra day after you give your talk and coach our people? And I was about to say, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't do that. And he continued and say, we'll pay you the same amount of money we paid you for speaking. And I said, yeah, I'll be happy to do that. And so I went and faked it.
Right.
And, and other people have this thing like, I feel like a fraud. Why am I coaching? I feel like a fraud. That's okay. Everybody's a fraud. Everybody who shows up and tells you their name is already a fraud.
That's deep.
So, it is. Thank you. You told me that.
We could go deep here.
We could be deep.
You asked me to go deep. If I felt it was getting
shallow.
I would just add, like, I love the direction of this conversation. And the one thing I would add to it is I do feel that a coach needs to have what I would call a growth mindset, like an opening to what's, in front of us, what's happening in life, etc. So to me, like this idea that, yeah, we got to stand on our chairs and we got to sing Kumbaya or somehow like, you know, be at a rave or rage about, you know, the excitement of the industry. Totally agree. It's not sustainable. It's not real. It's what I call magnetic light.
Mm.
And magnetic light is not sustainable.
Right.
So even if I was that type of person, that client's going to leave, and that magnetic light, that charisma is going to dissipate. So they're going to feel really good when they're around that, or they think they feel really good, but it's not theirs. And as professional coaches, what we want to do is we want to be in that natural, authentic self-expression, so deeply rooted in it that, in my view, it vibrates with the person across from us. They feel it in themselves as them, and they go out and live into it. And the other thing I do feel strongly about, and this might just be me, it may be others. I think every coach gets the opportunity to do things uniquely. But I wouldn't want to get on a commercial airliner where the pilot had just had drinks for breakfast, because then I might not feel safe. So I do think we are in a profession where it's a job like every other job. But I also feel like we have a responsibility to have some form of spiritual ecology or some form of personal accountability to our lives, because to me, it's a direct reflection into, you know, the world. So I want to be taking care of myself would be another way of saying it.
So let me just clarify. I want to make sure I heard you. You're saying coaches should not show up drunk to serve our clients. Like that would be bad.
I wouldn't tell anyone what to do or not to do, but I'm just saying, I think you might have a better coaching practice if you weren't drunk during the session.
That is profound. And I hear that the bigger thing you're saying is like our own, like we have a great responsibility to do our own. It's like what Steve talks about, the health of the healer, our own spiritual ecology, such that we can serve people in greater ways.
Yeah, and so then there's the other side to the coin, is the vulnerability of it.
Right.
Like we had a conversation recently where you said something like, hey, you know, Stephen, maybe, you know, people don't really think you struggle that much sometimes in life. So I wrote the blog about, you know, potato chips and crying. Like, you know, that my go-to at the end of a rough day might be a big bag of potato chips, and I love them. And that's, you know, so there's the,
and you cry, and you cry while you eat them, right?
Well, the salt, you know, the salt gets in your eyes. It can make you cry, you know, but I think that the coaches I love are the ones that are also open, you know, a growth mindset. And there's a certain vulnerability, because then they can recognize what I'm going through. You know, they can recognize that I'm in discomfort, and they can recognize it in me because they can recognize it in them.
I think growth mindset, I think, by the way, all of you are such great examples of that. And I so appreciate just each of you for how like you share about this profession very much. And I wish someone had told me that I would have such great people to surround myself with, for real. Like that to me is hands down one of the best things ever, that a coach can really be part of an incredible community that they create for themselves. Not just the people they serve, but the people they get to surround themselves with, their colleagues. So,
yeah, you know, that was going to be my other answer is, don't do this alone. I wish someone had told me, don't do this alone, and don't be proud of doing it by yourself. That's just stupid. Ask for help. That's
a great clip. That's just
really it is. Be willing to ask for help. Surround yourself with other coaches. Learn from them. I think, you know, you said I listen well. I think Devin's. Did I get you wrong? Did you say that you use a shower when you coach people? You have people step into the shower?
Yeah. You get like the see-through thing.
Because some little thing could happen when they're in there. So, okay.
cleansing them. It's a cleansing shower.
I might need a shower after this.
Well, I think, I think what's important is you don't have to have these super skills in some direction or another. This is something that's teachable, learnable, and if you enjoy it, you can become very, very good at it. There's nothing in your way. And like Stephen said, this profession is the only profession I know where it's important that you yourself keep growing. Now, if I have a lawyer and he's nasty and he's becoming more depressed every time, but he's really good in court, it's not important that he keep growing as a human being, or my accountant or something like that. But in this profession, it's important that we keep learning and growing, becoming happier, loving life more. That has to be there. That's the beautiful part of this. We have to receive coaching while we're giving coaching every step of the way. And that at the start, people say, "Oh, that's terrible. Why would you pay? Why do you have to pay that much money to go to coaching school or to get a coach?" Well, nobody says that when their husband goes to law school or medical school. They never say that. And the growth of the coach, the evolution, becoming happier, less fearful, enjoying life more, that's a requirement, and that's a good requirement. That's really one of the best parts of this profession.
I don't think I could have said it better. Well,
it's so true. I know we're about at time, Carolyn, but Carolyn and Steve Chandler, you both run amazing schools. And what I know is people, they come to your school, they grow from your school, the results are better financially and otherwise. And those people are serving clients in beautiful ways, and it changes the world. It makes the world a better place. There's lots of stats out there. I think we're coming to the end of our call, so I won't go into them, but I know just one little one is a lot of people in the world are lonely today. And a lot of people wouldn't need to be if they were in a coaching relationship with someone that could help them to see that loneliness can be viewed as an illusion, that it's not even real. And not only that, but that students come back to your school, Steve and Carolyn, again and again. There's a reason for that. And to the point here, there's no shame or guilt in that. That's a person that has a growth mindset. That's a person that says, I not only don't need to do this alone, but I won't do it alone because I don't have to.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And I want to complete with gratitude. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to call each of you my friends, and I'm grateful that I can say that you are significant parts of the CFJ Coaching Success School. I'm grateful that I have been the recipient of each of your coaching, and that others are going to get to be the recipient of your time and your wisdom and your service. And I don't think there was a better way to spend an hour than to be with all of you. And
so fun.
It was so fun, and I definitely want to do it again. And we'll come up with another fun question that will serve people. And in the meanwhile, thank you. And enjoy the rest of your day, people. And I'm not throwing away my shot. That is right. Thank you, Steve Chandler. All right, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Devin, Amber, Amy, Carolyn, Steve. Bye.
And goodbye to everybody listening and watching. Go forth and serve.